Hello, everyone, and welcome to your week 4 webinar for the final week of the 28-day Revitalize program. Today, we'll be talking about the week 4 suggested meals and touching again on the transition tracking document. We'll talk about the new self-care practice that I introduced, tongue scraping. We'll touch on gardening, more fitness tips, and a little bit about meditation, and finally just next steps on what to do now that the program is ending. So a quick overview of where we've been and the path that we've taken throughout the 28 days. So the first couple of weeks, as you know, we were focused on shredding. And then in week 3, last week, we were transitioning into the clean eating plan and added a little bit of fitness. And then this final week, we're wrapping up the clean eating and continuing all the self-care practices, talking a bit more about fitness, like I mentioned, adding in gardening, and discussing the next steps. So as far as the suggested meal plan is concerned, very similar to week number 3. You'll notice that, again, there's no gluten, dairy, sugar, or caffeine in any of the recipes. And at any time, you can begin using that transition guide to track how you feel when you start adding those items in. You can certainly do that now, or you can continue through to the end of the program and then start the transition at that point. So it's totally up to you. The longer you go leaving those items out of your diet, obviously the healthier it is, and I think the greater results you'll see. But at any time you can start that transition process. And you'll also notice that there are, I believe, at least 6 different desserts listed for you. And I've also included some links in your week 4 guide to several different healthy dessert resources. And also, I think everyone's already been talking about this and doing this already, but practice the guidelines that you've learned over the course of the program while you're eating out, and also just in your own cooking. So maybe you're not pulling up one of those recipes, but the guidelines for the program, you're probably pretty used to them by now, so it should start to be more an intuitive process than having to check back and forth with the recipes and the other resources and the shopping list and that sort of thing. So I'm excited to hear how everyone's been doing well with just kind of adopting these practices with the meal planning. This is just another quick snapshot, like I showed you last week, of the transition tracking document. I know it's kind of hard to see on the slide, but the days are across the top. You want to introduce one of those food items every 2 days. So I had first dairy, then gluten, red meat, sugar, coffee, or other vice. You can switch these around. If you're vegetarian, obviously you're leaving out the red meat item. And then you're just really keeping track of any joint pain or inflammation, fatigue, any mood shifts of depression or anxiety, or just irritability, any skin breaks out or rashes, headaches, food cravings, any changes in your bowels or GI tract pain, bloating. That's a big one that I think we just get so used to. We're not really paying attention to that, but keep a close eye on it and see if any of those food items are firing you up in that way. Any brain fog, or any sinus or respiratory phlegm in your throat, that sort of thing, insomnia. And then the list goes on a little longer on the actual document itself. So please take the time when you do start adding these foods back in to track how you're feeling, so you really have a journal of which foods fire you up. So I also wanted just to stop for a second and talk about, let's say you do get to the point, let's just say gluten, for example. you're finding here in this column that you're feeling a lot of these different, let's just call them ailments after you eat gluten. And sometimes with gluten, it's right away. We feel kind of bad right away after eating gluten, within, I'd say, 20 minutes. Let's just say that's the case for you. That doesn't mean you have to cut out gluten forever. Certainly, if you had any kind of celiac disorder, you would know that the symptoms are extreme, and you would know that. But if you're sensitive to gluten, that's just such a wonderful thing to know, so that you know how to keep feeling your best by avoiding gluten most of the time. So again, with anything, I recommend the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, we're eating as clean as possible, just like you've been eating over these 28 days. And 20% of the time, maybe we are having dairy, gluten, red meat, sugar, alcohol, coffee, and so on. Just continue to track your progress. If you don't write it down, it'll kind of slip away. So the more information you write down and journal and track for yourself, the better off you'll be, and hopefully the more apt you'll be to stick to this clean eating program, at least 80% of the time. So the self-care practices that I added for week number 4 are the tongue scraping and gardening and meditation, like I mentioned previously. So these items can be found in your week 4 guide. I talk a bit about it there, and then we'll touch on a moment the exact handouts that are available for you and other resources. So tongue scraping, what in the world is this? Why should we do it? How do you do it? The tongue scraping, the act of tongue scraping actually removes bacteria, debris, fungus, toxins, dead cells, and so on from our tongue. And it's just a well-known fact that's where some of these toxins just kind of settle in our mouth. And these toxins can be reabsorbed by the body, leading to respiratory, digestive, and immune system difficulties. So it's a great practice to get into. I typically do this after brushing my teeth. So you might do oil pulling, brush your teeth, and then do the tongue scraping. And if you get those out of order, it doesn't really matter. And you could alternate the oil pulling and the tongue scraping on different days. But I've been doing this for a while now, and it really makes your mouth feel really clean, and I also feel like I can taste food better. I know that sounds a little out there, but it really is true. Your mouth just really feels different and fresh, and it's great. One of the benefits that I didn't list there is that we are actually improve. It gets rid of bad breath. Let's just put it that way. So all you do, there's a video link included in your week 4 guide, and there's also the link available in your handout folder in the video document. I've listed all the videos there for a quick reference for you, and it just shows you how to use this tool. And I just use this simple device, and I like the plastic handles. It seems like it's easier to hold, and you just start at the back of your tongue and very gently pull forward to the tip of your tongue and rinse it off, and then do it again and rinse it off. And I do it, maybe 5 to 10 times. You'll see that you do it more often, or more repetitions, I should say, when you first start doing it. But then once you do it every day or close to every day, you'll see it gets better and better, and you don't need to do as many repetitions. So I highly recommend this practice. It's worth a shot. This device, I ordered it on Amazon, and there's information in your week 4 guide there, and it's just a few dollars. So try it out. Okay, so gardening. Everybody received a copy of the My Garden for the Health of It ebook And the 5 components of my Garden for the Health of It program include obviously growing, and you'll learn a lot about permaculture practices and that sort of thing, what to grow, why to grow it, and how to get started. Another thing that I've done for you is I created a container gardening webinar. It's about 25 minutes long, just talking a little bit more in depth about getting started with a container garden and how to grow a few of your own herbs or simple edibles. So that were handout folder in the video handout. You'll see the link available there. Also, the other components of the Garden for the Health of It program include strengthening. So the act of gardening itself, no matter if we're talking about container gardening or just gardening in raised beds, like a square foot gardening type of method, or even if we're talking about gardening that with ornamentals just out in your yard and a bit of yard work, it really is physical activity. And in this ebook, I talk about how many calories you burn and how to do that safely and effectively. And you'll see some information on proper gardening biomechanics, how to warm up, how to stretch a little bit afterwards, and some strengthening exercises you can do on the quote-unquote off-season, the gardening off-season, to strengthen your gardening specific muscles. So, of course, whether you're a gardener or not, those tips will certainly be helpful with any physical activity. So check that out. I also have a section in the ebook on nourishment, or how to improve your nutrition through edible gardening. So obviously when you're growing your own organic food, you're much more prone to cooking with healthy organic vegetables and fruits and vegetables and herbs. So you're automatically going to make better choices, and you'll intuitively start to crowd out the junk. So anything that has preservatives in a jar, can, box, all those things we want to avoid. When you're growing things yourself, you want to cook with them. It's actually very exciting. I get really excited about it, and to try new recipes and or just I've done this, stand in the garden and eat a tomato with it running down your arm. It's the best thing ever. So check out that section, and there are some of my recipes available there. And I do talk quite a bit about the health benefits of growing herbs, the fact that they're very low in calories and they're very high in antioxidants and very healthy for us. And not only that, but when we again start cooking with them, we're crowding out sauces and all kinds of other items that we don't need in our recipes. I truly believe at the end of the day, the 28-day Revitalize program is a great way to get started in clean eating and eating more whole foods. But at the end of the day, the way I love to eat is just really like a formula. You're choosing a protein, you're choosing a vegetable, you're using herbs to flavor everything, and it just intuitively you're cooking with the seasons and what you have available, and hopefully you're growing a few of your own things. And that's my favorite thing to do, just to kind of follow the garden and at least use a little something from the garden every day. So I talk in the ebook about pairing herbs with superfoods like tomatoes and blueberries, and even avocados are wonderful. And when you do that, you're really getting the most bang for your calorie buck. So take a look at that. And then finally, I talk about restoring your body after a gardening session, because gardening, like any physical activity, can be hard on us. We overuse certain muscles. We can get sunburn, we can get eaten by mosquitoes, we can kind of tweak a muscle or joint and have some next day soreness. And sometimes if we're using improper biomechanics while we're gardening, we can obviously injure ourselves. So the Restore section of the ebook, you'll find some self-care practices, some of which we already discussed, like Epsom salt baths or foot soaks, the aroma touch therapy, massage therapy, aromatherapy, just diffusing essential oils after a hard day out in the garden while you're taking a bath is a wonderful way to relax. I love diffusing essential oils in the winter when you kind of miss just the aromatherapy of being out in the garden. It's nice to have the option to do a little bit of that indoors. So hopefully you'll find some golden nuggets there to adopt. And then I mentioned essential oils because I really fold essential oils throughout the entire ebook, because we can use essential oils in all of these areas. So we can, garden with essential oils. It's an all natural organic way to, offer pest control. It can, certain oils can deter fungus growing on the plants. You can use them as a companion planting, which is a beneficial way of gardening, planting plants that help each other out next to each other. You can also use an essential oil of a certain plant to do the same thing instead of planting the two plants next to each other. So it's a very interesting concept. There's more information in the book for you under the Grow section. As far as strengthen, you can use essential oils for any sore muscles that you might have before you go out to the garden, that sort of thing. There's info in there. Nourish, you can cook with the essential oils. So the herbs, the superfoods that add essential oils, it's like the triple threat there. I love it. And then, of course, all those restore options, incorporating the essential oils is a great option too. So meditation, there's a bit of controversy around meditation sometimes, because I think if for those folks who have never done it, or maybe they've tried a certain style and it just didn't resonate with them and they're turned off by it, you don't really want anything to do with it. But I just really encourage everyone to learn a little bit more about it. It doesn't need to be spiritual in nature at all. I think we immediately imagine, someone sitting in a quiet room with candles, an Indian style, and it becomes this very spiritual experience. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be what I call woo-woo, out there. That's not how I practice meditation. Some people do, and that's fabulous for them. The way that I practice meditation is just more, my personality is just like, what's the fastest and easiest way to get this done that's going to help me relax? It has nothing to do with a spiritual experience. It's more just calming my mind by either focusing on my breath, or there are guided meditations where you can lay on your back and the guided meditation will talk you through relaxing, starting at the crown of your head, and then focusing on your eyebrows, relaxing your eyebrows, moving down to behind your eyes, softening your eyes. And it just goes all the way down through your body. It is so relaxing. And that's a good example, I think, to kind of show that it doesn't have to be some spiritual chanting or anything like that at all. I know there are a lot of those options out there, none of which I'm familiar with, but if you Google, you can find that sort of thing. But there are many benefits to meditation, and both physical and mental. So some of the physical benefits that I included in your week 4 guide include lowering high blood pressure, lowers levels of blood lactate, which can reduce any anxiety attacks, decreases tension-related pain such as headaches, ulcers, insomnia, muscle and joint problems, increases serotonin production, which can improve any mood imbalance, improves the immune system, increases energy level as you gain an inner source of energy. And then the mental benefits of meditation include decreasing anxiety, of course, emotional stability, creativity increases, intuition develops, gaining clarity and peace of mind. Problems become less significant. I think that is so true when you just, pause and relax. Kind of like the idea of counting to 10 before you respond to an email that upsets you. Meditation really helps with any, stressful situation. Meditation sharpens the mind by gaining focus and expands the mind through relaxation. So many benefits. I can't say enough wonderful things about meditation, what it's done for me. And, you can call it whatever you'd like. It can be just breathing exercises, mental imagery. There are many different forms, but for our purposes here, we'll just call it meditation. And in your week 4 guide, I also explain several different options, simple, top of mind options that I wanted to share with you. And I provided a couple apps, and they're free. And then there's also an online subscription. It's called Headspace, and it's a little bit more involved, but you can check out their website. All the information, the link is provided there for you in your guide. And then, of course, my favorite, which is the Oprah and Deepak Chopra guided meditation 21-day challenge. And you can visit that website and just see when the next challenge begins and consider participating in that. So it's free, and there's an app for it as well, which I really like because I like to follow it on my phone as opposed to having to be seated at the computer. And just every day there's a new guided meditation release. They talk for about, I don't know, maybe Oprah talks for a couple of minutes, then Deepak talks for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, and the entire thing is usually about 20 minutes long. And after Deepak stops talking, then it's just music, and you just relax and try to clear your thoughts and focus on your breathing and that sort of thing. And so the whole exercise is about 20 minutes per day for 21 days. You can do it at any point during the day. They make it available, I believe, super early in the morning, like 5 a.m. or something, and you just do that meditation at your convenience on that day. And then, of course, at the end, they'll offer the meditation to you in either a DVD or online, to download if you want to purchase it and have it available to do over and over again. I did purchase several of them, and I strongly recommend at least participating in the free version and to see what you think about it. And of course, I already mentioned there are many different breathing exercises. You can just Google. There's so much free information out there. You can Google or go to YouTube and just search meditation breathing exercises, and you'll find a lot of options just to at least learn a little bit more about it and see if that is a style that you'd be interested in. And then there are also, this is kind of new to me, but I've been learning more about walking meditation. So you can either listen to them on headphones while you're walking outdoors, or I just like to read about the topic and then go for a walk and listen to the nature sounds and just try to meditate. You know how it is when you're walking or running. It's very therapeutic. I can get some of my best thinking done during those times. But if you're guiding your thoughts and let's see, you have a goal for your walk on what you want to accomplish, and taking yourself through a mental relaxation while you're walking, you're getting 2 for 1, physical activity and mental relaxation. So if you have any questions about meditation, I will talk about it all day. So just let me know. Happy to help. So fitness for this week, I provided you my 4 Fit to Garden guides. So these are the full guides for gardening, the gardening warm-up. So several stretches and some cardio ideas for warming up for any physical activity. It's, in this case specifically for gardening, but it'd be great for any activity. If you're going to head out the door for a walk, for example, or any kind of exercise program. or just, let's just say yard work in general. Anything we're going to be getting your heart rate up, these guides will serve you in that way. There's also one on proper gardening biomechanics, how to mulch, how to shovel, how to rake properly, what your body position should be so you don't hurt yourself. And again, those mechanic recommendations, this is the kinesiotherapy nerd in me coming out, but those recommendations will serve for anything you're doing, even bending over to pick up a piece of paper off the floor. Same thing, you never want to bend over at the waist. You'll learn more about how to bend at the knee and hip and squat down, or lean on something to squat down and bend over and pick anything up off the floor. So check that out. There's also information on post-gardening stretches. So lots of different stretches after any type of physical activity. These stretches would apply for you. And then finally, a full program on the, it's actually called the core strengthening exercises during the off season. So these are just great, they're Pilates based exercises that I put together specifically for gardening, but they're great for any core strengthening program for anybody for any reason. So take a look at that. And these guides have several different exercises and or stretches, and there are descriptions and photos, and there are also videos to go along with those that I will go ahead and post the links to those videos as well, because it's not the full program, but it gives you a good idea of exactly how to perform the exercises. So I'll provide that for you as well. Also working on a workout video per your request, so that will be available for you soon. When it's available, I will send you an email so you know that it's there for you. Give me just a few more days and I'll have that out for you. And then I just wanted to recommend doing a melt treatment before and or after any type of exercise that you would be performing. Gardening, before or after gardening would be great. It just helps your nervous system regroup, and it also provides hydration to your connective tissue around your muscles and your joints. Great before you head out to a repetitive activity, and also great after you've done that activity and to kind of regroup. So try that out. I think you'll notice a difference there, and hopefully everyone's continuing with those melt treatments several times per week. As far as the handouts are concerned, I know we talked about this a little bit already, and by the way, I love my little pineapple and watermelon dumbbells there. But we have covered in our handouts everything here in green, and then for week 4 I have added in your handout folder the Garden for the Health of It ebook, of course, the 4 Fit to Garden practical guides that I just talked about. I added the container gardening webinar, and I also added the doTERRA order options webinar. So any questions about how to place an order on your doTERRA website, how to do the shopping, how to set up your LRP to get the free oils and all that fun stuff. Those 2 webinars, the gardening webinar and the doTERRA webinar, are again available in your handout folder in the video document. There's a link there for you. And I wanted to, no pun intended, come full circle and remind you of the Circle of Life exercise that we did in the beginning of the program on the very first day. There is a blank copy available for you in your week 1 handouts. And I really love this exercise. So just a reminder, if you're really happy with where you're at in a certain area, you're going to place the dot on each line closer to the outside rim. If you're not satisfied, you're going to place the dot closer to the center. Then when you're done and you have a dot on every single line, you'll connect them so you can kind of see any sharp any sharp angles and what you might want to work on, anything that falls in this middle area. And I'm hoping, maybe not yet, it's only been a short 28 days, but I would love for everybody to do this within maybe the next 2 to 4 weeks to see if you've been able to move any of these simply by improving your nutrition and incorporating some of these self-care practices may have opened you up to intuitively, without even knowing it, addressing some of these issues. Of course, I'm assuming home cooking, you've probably been cooking better or more often at home. Your health, you probably feel, really great about that at this point. Creativity, maybe because you're learning how to take what we learned and get more creative with your meals and self-care practices and everything. Joy, I'm certainly hoping so, but some of these others, home, environment, relationships, social life, joy, spirituality, again, that's up to you. It's either, whatever your church or higher power is, or it could be meditation, it could be connecting with nature, it could be whatever spirituality is for you. Everyone has a different take on that, and it's totally, I love that. I love that everyone has their own way of addressing spirituality. And, finances, career, maybe if, let's say, for example, someone's not happy with their career, we're not changing our career overnight in 28 days, of course, but maybe by improving our health and our outlook and clearing out some of the clutter that causes brain fog and irritability and those type of things, hopefully, maybe we feel better about our career and maybe interested in learning more. So education just means, what new things are you learning? And you've learned an awful lot of new things, I'm hoping, over the last 28 days. So I encourage everybody to do the circle of life again, and then pull it out and take a look at, the differences from the first time that you completed this exercise. So next steps. So I just encourage everyone to continue with the nutrition guidelines for as long as possible. Try to make it a rule that 80% of the time you're leaving out all of the items that we've been leaving out: gluten, dairy, alcohol, sugar, caffeine, the best that you can. Of course, there are going to be activities and, different things where, we'll fall off track. But if you can just kind of keep that in mind and never deprive yourself, I think you're gonna do great. And I hope it just becomes a lifestyle for you. That's really the goal here. And I also really want everyone to fold in the self-care practices. It sounds like most of you have been doing most of the self-care practices that we've covered, and maybe there's a couple you haven't tried yet. Keep that on your list and give it a shot. And I'm really hoping that some of these practices become a daily or at least weekly habit for you. And then you should consider repeating the program. You have all of the materials. They are there for you to keep. You should download them and save them on your computer. You can create the Dropbox, your own Dropbox account, and just move the materials over to your own Dropbox. I just ask you to not share them, or at least the whole program, with anyone else. Other than that, they are there for you forever to keep, so you can repeat this program on your own at any time. And if any questions come up along the way, please reach out, email me, call me, text me. I really would appreciate hearing from you and hearing how things are going for you. So we'll keep in touch. Thank you so much for participating. I had a really great time. I hope that you did too, and I hope that you learned a lot and have made some big strides into improving your healthy lifestyle. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.